Alright, Brian, I wanted to show you something. This is a G&G tappet plate, and when you pull back the tappet plate all the way, excuse me here. Alright, so you pull back the tappet plate all the way here, and you can see, look at the feed on this. Alright, tap plate's all the way back. Right here. That's where it starts. Starts right there. So you actually got 1, 2, 3 little partial cycles right here of this sector gear as it goes through here, which is very good. That should stay back far enough to pretty much eliminate any kind of feed issue. And this is a G&G plate. If you look at this Lonex, it's pretty short compared to. So this looks absolutely beautiful. Like, I think this is what you want to stick with if you ever need to replace your tap plate. This G&G tap plate version 2 would be feeding flawlessly right here. I mean, just look at that. Okay, so here's a little thing that I'm going to do too. This area right here, I'm just going to chop off. The reason is because as you come around here, this is the point by which it goes forward. But that's really not necessary. It doesn't matter if your tap plate goes forward faster. So the reason for that is for full auto, when this thing's cycling so much faster than semi, I want to keep the consistency of the FPS as much as possible, so I'm going to have the tappet plate cycle faster. Now, as you can see here, as it goes, stop right at this point. So here's when it starts to go forward, and it takes a very long time to go forward. See that right there? That leaves you about 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 teeth. Okay, so I'm going to chop down just the end right here so that it returns sooner. And on your spring here, I'm probably going to take off at least maybe 2 coils. So that's what I'm going to do there. Here's the VFC tap plate that I was using, and you can see I had to cut it down and modify it to fit in here, so I'm going to have to do the same thing with that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Alright, so here it is. I'm going to sand it down to make it really nice. And to compare here, there's going to be a problem. It's a little thicker. This is what I'm used to, is this thickness, and this right here is not thicker than it used to be because I had to shave it down too, and this I had to shave down too on the thinness right here. Now the reason for that is because this sector gear doesn't fit in here very well, and if you don't remove that, it's going to pinch this sector gear, and so I take the step to sand it down, and I measure. It's about 312. This one's about 340, so I'm going to have to remove that material from this area right here. And sometimes when I check the gear, I might have to remove a little bit from the fin right here, but not anywhere near this area. You don't want to remove that. That's the feeding. You just want to remove here if you need to. So pretty much that, because that's going to hit sector gear. Sector gear is going to go right in here, as you can see there. So you want to shave down this area, which I'm going to do right now. And you can do this on a flat table with a flat surface right here. This has got a bump. Basically you just, well actually the sector gear only comes in between here. I know that because I have a lot of experience with it, so you don't have to go all the way flush to the end of the tail here, but just basically do this so you can see what I'm doing. I'm also going to have to do that for these as well, just to make sure that this is nicely cut and round or flattened. So I'm going to take that time right now. Okay, obviously I removed too much material, but that doesn't matter. You can see here too much is removed, and in the top, but that doesn't really matter. These are not going to break down in this area unless you mechanically make it somehow possible that it breaks to the cylinder by pulling back too much and the front breaks here or something. But the reason this is cut down here is because there's reinforcement inside the gearbox right here, which is not a bad idea at all. You can see some reinforcement right there. The block is right there. So in future modifications, I guess if you really wanted to, you could cut your tappet plate like this and add some JB weld inside here and let that cure, and you might be able to help reinforce your gearbox even further. And the way they reinforce the top is they add reinforcement here. You can see that. Oh, it gets thick right there, so they add thickness here and thickness there, which is not a bad idea at all. So you could technically even add a lot more thickness. You can see that this could even be thinned even more. But this goes in here, and I have to say, I think I will be quite impressed with this. Goes all the way forward. So I think I'll be quite impressed with this. Now what you need to do is put it in here with the sector gear shimmed properly. Close this up here, and you really only need these two screws right here. I gotta find a thing to tighten here because these screws are starting to I'm trying to think of the word here. They have started to strip my tools because the screws are very hardened. Or maybe it's just cheap tool, I don't know. Maybe that's part of it. Yeah, just to show, I had to take a screw. Oh, is it this one? No. It's somewhere in this mix of parts here. Here it is. I had to take a screw and cut it to be a flathead. So you can see that that would not strip at all, but it was stripping my ends here. This is getting all stripped up, and every time I increased width, there was no way it was gonna, turn. So I had to do that. But anyways, you tighten this up here, and you go back and forth with your tappet plate. Right there you can see, it goes back and forth, no problem. And then you want to check and see if it snags the sector gear. See if the sector gear moves. I don't see the sector gear moving at all. I can rotate the sector gear around it easily. It's not hit into it. So there's plenty of room in here to move back and forth if need be. And I guess you could shim the tappet plate within this area if you wanted to, maybe add something to it, but I don't think that's necessary. I think that looks good. All right, so that's how the tappet plate would be done and checked.